What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you 5 things to check on your Whirlpool dryer if it will not power on.
All right, so if you have a Whirlpool dryer similar to this or, slightly different variation, Whirlpool makes a lot of brands. Whirlpool, Maytag, Kenmore, Amana, and others, Roper, and you go to power on and nothing's starting. I'm gonna show you 5 things to check so we can get you up and running again. If you wanna check everything, these are the basic tools you're gonna need. I like to use this 5-in-1 little scraper to pop the top up. We need a Phillips head bit, a 1/4-inch bit, as well as a multimeter. You can get these usually, $15 to $20 depending on where you get it. You can get it on Amazon, Harbor Freight, different things like that. So this is the main things you're going to need to check about everything on this entire dryer. So let's get into it. All right, first things first, the most simple thing you can check is going to be your breaker box. Sometimes the dryer isn't going to get full power and you're just going to make sure your breaker didn't trip or it didn't half trip. So let me show you how to do it. You're going to go to your breaker box. It should look something like this. This is one we just have at our shop here. You're going to find one that says most likely it's going to be a 30 or 40 amp. So there should be 2 like this. Let's look at this one for a visual here. So 40, and it's on a double. So basically what you're going to do, if this is partially tripped or tripped back and forth, if it's off, you're just going to flip it on, or if it's half tripped, just flip it off and then flip it back on. And then after you do that, go check your dryer again. Once you get back to your dryer, still nothing, then we need to check the next thing. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this panel off and we're going to check the voltage with our multimeter to make sure our dryer is getting enough power. It is good to have the little clamp that holds this on, but this is just one we're testing, so it doesn't have that. So let me show you how to check that. We're going to take this panel off first, and then we're going to check the voltage. Usually it's just one screw to take this panel off, and be really careful since the dryer is still plugged in. And then that's going to show us where the dryer cord connects. We're going to take that panel off. Now this should have 240 volts between all the power here, and we're going to put the multimeter on this side and this side to make sure it has the proper voltage. The neutral's in the middle, and we also want to make sure we do not touch this at all with our hands or anything, because that is live voltage, so be very, very careful if you're checking this. So when we get our multimeter on, we're going to make sure we turn it over to AC voltage. So it should look something like this here, and we're going to put it where it could go up to 600 AC voltage. It should say AC on your multimeter itself. And now we're going to test the voltage of the dryer. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to touch the left and the right side. I'm sorry, the left and the middle. And we're going to see if that reads 120 volts. We got 123 volts. Then we're going to actually test the middle to the right. Let's see how many volts we have there. 123 volts. And then what we're going to do to test the entire voltage is we're going to go from the left to the right, and make sure you have this on the right setting so your multimeter, doesn't go crazy on you. And we should be between 220 and 240 volts. My voltage is a little low in the shop, so we're at around 215. It still works around that, but usually needs to be around 220 to 240 volts. So if that is good, then that is not the issue. If for some reason you touch from the left to the middle and it's less than 120 volts, like it's reading 7 volts or 0 volts, or if you go from the middle to the right and it's reading low voltage, then you do have a power issue going to the dryer. The dryer's not getting proper voltage. As well as if you touch both sides, if you're only getting 120 volts or less than 220, you usually do have a power issue. So I would either call an electrician or double check that breaker one more time before you move on with any type of dryer repair. So if you've checked all that, the next thing you need to do is unplug your dryer. We're going to take off this back panel and we're going to check our thermal fuse and see if that's why our dryer is not powering on. So now we've already checked 2 things. We checked our breaker and we checked our power. Third thing is going to be our thermal fuse. So let's check that now. We're going to take this back panel off. You're going to have quite a few screws on the back here. You're going to take all of these off. It's the 1/4-inch bit. And then once you take all the screws off all the way around, this back panel is going to pop off. Now this dryer is a used model that we're going to refurbish and resell. The dryer is very dirty, so all this will be vacuumed out. if you take your dryer off and you see all this on your element, I would definitely vacuum and clean it the best you can, because you don't want this somehow getting in the element and starting a fire. But since the dryer won't power on, we're gonna be looking for this bad boy right here. This is the white thermal fuse. Again, the dryer is unplugged, so you won't shock yourself by touching this. And you're gonna pull these two blue wires and just take those off. And then we're gonna grab our multimeter so we can test out if this fuse is good. Now on the multimeter, we're gonna check for continuity for the fuse. So we're gonna turn this. It's this symbol here, usually looks like a Wi-Fi symbol. And then what's gonna happen is when you touch these two together, you're gonna hear a beep when you touch your two prongs together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna touch one red and one black on either side of that fuse, and we're gonna see if it beeps. So we're not getting a beep, so that means that fuse will need to be replaced. So this is the replacement fuse. You can literally buy a pack of these on Amazon for, maybe $4 or $5. If you see anybody trying to sell a single fuse for $20 to $40, it's a complete scam. So this is what we're gonna replace. It's 1/4 inch screw there. We're gonna take that out, and then we're just gonna swap that bad boy right out. All right, we just took that fuse out, so we're gonna slide the new one in. And then we're going to put our 1/4 inch screw back in. And then we're simply going to reconnect these two blue wires. And then we just put everything back together after we give it a good little cleaning. And then that should be our power issue. So if that was the issue, that would make the dryer power on. So the first simple thing you should check on this dryer, if it's not turning on, simply open the door, and then you're going to push this switch here. If it clicks, most likely it's good. If it doesn't click and it's just hanging there or dangling or broke off, that's gonna be your problem, and that is your door switch. Very easy to replace. To replace the door switch, you're simply going to remove your lint trap. You're going to take these two screws out, two Phillips head screws. Make sure you don't drop your screws down the trap. If not, it'll probably shoot out the back, so no big deal, but then you lose them. Then from the front of the machine, you're gonna grab a scraper or 5-in-1 like this, and you're gonna simply pop up on each side. So once you get the top popped up like this, you're gonna have, this is the wire here. Make sure you're unplugged. You're gonna disconnect this wire, and then there's two screws going to that switch, and they're actually on this side. So two screws there, Phillips heads. You're gonna remove those, replace your switch, plug that back in, and then the switch will be good to go. Now for the fifth and final item, we're gonna go to check the belt. If you pop this up and you don't see a belt, your belt is broken. So here's where the belt was. You can see that this belt broke off. It's not on here. Unfortunately, this dryer had a broken belt and a broken fuse, which is not as common. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna replace that belt, and I'm gonna show you how to do that, and that'll be our last item to check. All right, so next we're going to take this front panel off, and we're going to get to where the belt is. So if you look right here, you're gonna have two 5/16 screws you're gonna take out. And that's the only thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. I do like this bit has 5/16 on one side and 1/4 inch on the other. So once you get that 5/16, you're just going to take this off. You're gonna take that side off. We're also gonna go ahead and disconnect that switch we were talking about. And then we're going to take this other side off. And then this is simply gonna pull up and out. So we're gonna pull that up. That's gonna come out. And then the drum is starting to come out as well. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this drum out. And here's our pulley, which when the belt breaks, that'll sometimes pop loose. And this pulley does sit right here in those slots back there, just like that. And now we're gonna go ahead and find the new belt. While we're in here, it's good to go ahead and inspect the rollers, make sure there's no flat spots, make sure they still roll, they're not getting hung up. This one is a little tighter, but it still rolls, so it doesn't look too bad. So we got our belt. I'm going to show you the best way possible how the belt is going to go on the pulley without actually putting the drum on yet. So the way this works, this is the tensioner pulley. You're going to set it in those slots, and then your belt is going to slide under that pulley like this, and then that's going to go around the motor like this, and then this is going to go all the way around the drum. So this is going to come back, up, and around the drum. So that's how it's going to look. It's going to be hard to see once you're under there. Just use 2 hands, and you're going to loop it through just like that. You make sure the rib side is down on the motor, and then the smooth side is on the back of the pulley, just like that. So what I like to do is put the belt around the drum, and then you can pick it up like that. And then we're going to set the felt piece right on the back, and then I'm going to go down beneath, and then I'm going to connect that just like I showed you previously. So once you get that connected, this is what it's going to look like. Same way, but it has the tension on it. And then I'm holding the drum in place, and I'm about to put the front door back on. For the front panel, I like to slide this over here first. Let that kind of rest on there. And then you're going to see these little tabs on the bottom. And the easiest way to do this is you just lift up on the cabinet, and you're going to see there's holes on this side. And you're going to set it right into place just like that. And you're going to do that on both sides. So we're going to lift up and set that right into place. Once it's in place, it should be able to hold itself just like this. And now we're going to put our 2 5/16 screws back into place on each side. All right, the first 5/16 screw. Then we got our second 5/16 screw. And then what we're going to do is reconnect the switch here. And once that's reconnected, you got your screws, you got your belt, everything's back in place. We're going to test out the dryer. Let's go ahead and grab the lid. We're going to shut that. It should just clip right down on those clips. We're just going to push that on both sides. And we're going to put our 2 Phillips head screws back in spot there. That's 1 screw. There's our second screw going in. And then we're just going to replace that lint trap. And she's ready to go. Now we have the dryer plugged in, so we're going to go ahead and press the start button. And then you just want to open the door, make sure your drum is turning, and then do your test, and you're good to go. Now your dryer is back to running and ready to go.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Those are the top reasons why your dryer won't be powering on. If there's any questions you have or anything, just shoot me a comment down below, and I'll be more than happy to help you out any way I can. Thanks for watching.